Hello, my dear friends. Friends, yesterday we had done a discussion about a small interesting topic. That is what, my dear friends, come on. Liability to pay tax in certain cases. That is basically dealt from section 85 to section 94. Some interesting topic we have done. So, friends, so far we have done some small topics like this. That is, number one, we have done a topic like what? Assessment and audit. Then we completed something called demands and recovery. Then we completed a topic called advance ruling. Then we also completed a topic recently yesterday that is a beautiful topic called what, my dear friends? Come on, liability to pay tax in certain cases. Now, my dear friends, today we'll discuss one such topic. This is also a small topic only, but there is lot of concept in this topic where tremendous clarity of thought is required to understand that very perfectly how that system will work. And that's very important to know and have a clarity of thought about this particular concept practically. Clear, my dear friends? So let's spend some good time and discuss very clearly the practical points involved in this beautiful topic called TDS and TCS. Correct. Rightly you heard, we are going to talk about TDS and TCS under GST law. This is not your 192, 194, 194A, 194H, 194I, 194J, not all that. Under GST law, we have got only one section for TDS, that is section 51. And we have got only one section for TCS, that is section 52. And it is very important to have utmost clarity of thought on TDS and TCS. It's a very practical topic, very important for that matter. And for all second and one thing I'll tell you very clearly is a very conceptual topic. A very conceptual topic. This topic is not like a topic where you just like that learn some points, write some points, chapter is over. It's not like that. This topic is very practical, very conceptual, where tremendous clarity is required. So there's some tremendous concept to learn, my dear friends. Friends, let me tell you, in order to learn perfectly, only three things are important, sir. That is concept, third also is concept only. That's it. There cannot be any sort of compromise in terms of the conceptual understanding what we have in relation to this topic, especially topics like place of supply, value of supply, input tax credit, TDS, TCS. These topics cannot be learned just like that. The tremendous clarity of thought and the conceptual understanding is very important to have a good clarity on what these topics are talking about. So let's spend some good time today on discussion only about two sections called 51 and 52. That's it. Sections are only two, but the concept and the depth involved in the content is something super amazing. That will take some good time. Clear, my dear friends? So let's spend some good time today and become perfect in the concept of TDS and TCS dealt by section 51 and 52, something very practical. So kindly please concentrate very carefully since it is very important. Are we ready? But before I start TDS and TCS, let's once quickly revise, then we'll start, my dear friends. Come on, concentrate. Yeah, I'm sure the screen is visible for everybody. Yes. So friends, before I start anything in this TDS and TCS, first let's once quickly revise once what we have done, then I'll start. Ready, my dear friends? Come on, let's do that. Come on. Tell me, guys, what is section 7? Section 7 talks about what? Supply. Then how many schedules are there? 3 schedules. What is schedule 1? Schedule 1 talks about transactions regarded as supply even though there is no consideration. Schedule 2, transactions which are either regarded as supply of goods or regarded as supply of service. Schedule 3, transactions which are neither regarded as supply of goods nor regarded as supply of service. Come on, guys. What is section 8? Section 8 talks about taxability of component supply and mixed supply. Come on, how do we tax component supply? Component supply is taxed at the rate of principal supply. How do we tax mixed supply? Mixed supply is taxed at highest rate. Next, my dear friends, section 9, section 10. These two very important, which I did not start so far, which will start discussion very soon, my dear friends. And let me tell you very clearly that section 9 talks about just one second. Yes, come on. So what I was saying, section 7 talks about what, my dear friends? The concept of supply. 8 talks about what? Component supply and mixed supply. Then, my dear friends, section 9 I'm yet to teach you. That is a beautiful section which talks about the concept of charge of GST. Something very important. We'll discuss the topic very much in detail soon. Then, my dear friends, section 10, which deals with the concept of composition scheme. Come on, my dear friends, what scheme? Composition scheme. Extremely important, super duper important topic, which is coming in exam almost every time. I repeat one more time, which is coming in exam almost every time for about 3 to 4 marks in the exam. So we'll spend some very good time soon on that topic called composition scheme. Clear? Then section 11 talks about, my dear friends, exemptions, which clearly says central government has power with them to notify exemption. Central government has got power with them to notify what, my dear friends? Exemptions. And in exemption, we have got certain goods which are exempt. See, for example, vegetables, fruits and all, we don't pay tax practically for the reason because they are exempt. In the similar manner, there are a lot of services. I repeat one more time, there are a lot of services under GST law which are also exempt. And in your syllabus, you don't have list of exempted goods, but you have list of exempted services. So it is very important to have a complete clarity of thought on list of exempted services. That also we'll talk in detail. Come on. 12, done already. What is section 12? Time of supply in case of goods. Is that correct or not? Let's spend some time on revision. Come on. Section 13, time of supply in case of services. 14, time of supply in case of change in rate of tax. Remember this, my dear friends? And in case of change in rate of tax, I clearly taught you the concept that we will see service before, service after, invoice before, payment after. See, basically what is important is that there are 3 dates called service date, invoice date, payment date. Service date, invoice date, payment date. If between these 3 dates, I repeat one more time, if between these 3 dates, there is a change in rate of tax. If between these 3 dates, there is a change in rate of tax, then only section 14 will apply. Something very interesting, we discuss very clearly, my dear friends. Come on, yes or no? Good. Come on, friends, what is section 7? Section 7 deals with the concept of supply. Section 8 is what? Taxability of compound supply and mixed supply. Section 9, yet to talk, we'll discuss in detail charge of GST. 10, my dear friends, composition scheme, we'll discuss in detail soon. 11, exemptions, that also we are yet to talk, we'll talk in detail soon. 12, done. What is 12? Time of supply in case of goods. 13, time of supply in case of services. 14, time of supply in case of change in rate of tax. Then 15, my dear friends, 15 is what? Value of supply. When we very clearly discuss what is value of supply, my dear friends. Come on. And value of supply also has got valuation rules. Wherein we discuss rule 27 to rule 35. It has been quite some time. Let's once revise. Come on. Please tell the answer. Don't sit like that. Come on. Don't relax. Concentrate. Hello. Listen here. Listen. I'm talking to you only. Concentrate. Focus. What is rule 27? Rule 27 talks about a case where consideration is not only in money. Rule 28, supplies between distinct or related persons. Rule 29, principal and agent. Rule 30, 110% of cost. Rule 31, best judgment. Rule 31A, valuation in case of betting, gambling, lottery. Rule 32, notified supplies. 33, pure agent. 34, rate of exchange. 35, value inclusive of GST. So friends, 15th section is over, which talks about the concept of value of supply. Then, my dear friends, 16 to 21 is dealt by the chapter called input tax credit, which we have not done so far. We'll start the topic very soon. One big topic left in our GST, we'll discuss that very, very soon. 16 to 21 talks about what? Input tax credit. Go on, next. What is 22? 22 talks about persons liable for registration. 23. Persons not liable for registration. 24, compulsory registration. 25, procedure for registration. 26, deemed registration. 27, concept of CTP and NRTP. 28, amendment of registration. 29, cancellation of registration. 30, revocation of cancellation. Friends, one more time, please go on. What is section 22? Persons liable for registration. 23, persons not liable for registration. 24, compulsory registration. 25, procedure for registration. 26, deemed registration. 27, concept of CTP and NRTP. 28, amendment of registration. 29, cancellation. 30, revocation of cancellation. Then, my dear friends, 31 to 34 yet to talk. That is the story of tax invoice, credit note, debit note. 35, 36 yet to talk. That is the story of accounts and records. 37 to 48 yet to talk, that is about returns chapter. 49 to 50 yet to talk. 49 to 50 talks about payment of tax. 51 and 52 TDS and TCS, that will talk today. 54 to 58 talks about refunds, yet to discuss. We'll talk. 59 onwards, we are done, my dear friends. What is 59? 59 is what? Self-assessment. 60. 60 is what? Provisional assessment. 61, scrutiny of returns. 62, BJA for non-filers. 63, BJA for unregistered person. 64, summary assessment. 65, department audit. 66, special audit. In this context, my friends, let me tell you very clearly that 67 to 72 is dealt by a chapter called Inspection, Search and Seizure, which I did not teach you so far. 73 to 84 is over. 73 to 84 is over, sir. What is 73 to 84? 73 to 84 talks about demands and recovery. What is 73? Recovery in case of other than FMS. 74, recovery in case of FMS. 75, determination of demand. 76, what is 76, guys? Tax collected but not deposited. 77, tax wrongfully collected and paid. 78, initiation of recovery. 79, recovery proceedings. 80, installments. 81, transfer of property is regarded as void. 82, tax is always the first charge. 83, provisional attachment. 84, continuous validation of proceedings. 85 to 94, over. What is that? Liability to pay tax in certain cases. What is that by difference? 85. 85, liability in case of transfer of business. 86, principal and agent. 87, amalgamation. 88, liquidation. 89, directors. 90, partners. 91, guardians and trustees. 92, code of wards. 93, special cases. 94, other cases. 95 to 106 also over. What is 95 to 106? 95, definitions. 96, AAR and GST. 97, question which can be raised. 98, procedure. 99, AAR and GST. 100, appeal to AAR, which we will find within 30 days, for the extra 30 days and all. 101, order of AAR, which they will give within 90 days. 102, rectification of mistake. 103, applicability of ruling. 105, 104, by the way, ruling is void if obtained by fraud, misstatement or suppression of facts. Then 104, 105, powers of AAR, AAR. 106, power to regulate their own procedure. Then friends, 107 to 121 is the story of appeals and revisions, which I am yet to talk. 122 to 138 talks about penalties. That also I am yet to discuss. See why I revised all these things once again, because so that you will get a complete framework of what are all there in GST law. Because after a few days, once few chapters are done, right from section 1 to section 138, I'll make you tell all the numbers. With that, we will squeeze left and right and become masters in the subject. No compromise whatsoever. Clear, my dear friends? Come on, let's start the concept of TDS and TCS. Dealt by section 51 and 52. Come on. Come on now. So let me start discussion about the concept of TDS and TCS dealt by section 51 and 52. Friends, first of all, the first fundamental fact is that the concept of TDS is dealt by 51 and the concept of TCS is dealt by 52. First, let's understand and become perfect in 51. Then let's move to 52, my dear friends. Now, first of all, it's very important to have a clarity of thought on what this TDS is actually talking about, because it's something really interesting and important, because of a simple reason that it's very practical. Now, let me explain you the complete framework of what TDS is all about. Then we will write point by point and discuss in detail. But let me explain you the concept of what is TDS. Clear? Listen. Friends, as we all know, my dear friends, in income tax, we have got something like 194J, 194C, 194I. See, for example, let's say there is one chartered accountant, Shivateja. What I have done is, I supplied some services to a client for which I gave a bill of 1 lakh. For which how much bill I gave, my dear friends? 1 lakh. But when I gave a bill for 1 lakh, client doesn't pay me 1 lakh, my dear friends. We all know the fact that we have got TDS under section 194J, which he will do at the rate of 10%. And client will pay me only 90,000. and client will pay 10,000 to the government. Correct, my dear friends? This is a common sense concept which all of us know very clearly, but this concept is basically from income tax. In the similar lines, in the similar fashion, we have got the provisions of TDS under GST law also. Now, what is this provisions of TDS under GST law is what you need to understand exactly, on which we are actually going to spend some time. Clear? But here we don't have so many sections like income tax. In income tax, we have got different sections for different types of payments, different types of incomes. But under GST law, we do not have so many sections, but we have got only one section called section 51, which talks about TDS under GST. Now, what is that? Let me explain to you very clearly. Concentrate. Come on. Friends, listen. Let's say there is a Department of Government. Let's say there is a Department of Government. What department? Any department of what, my dear friends? Government. What government? Could be central government, could be state government. Any department of central government or state government. Exactly. That's what I'm trying to tell here. Listen. Now listen very clearly. Please carefully concentrate. Listen. There is one particular person called Mr. X. Mr. X is giving, or Mr. X is supplying service to Department of Government. What service? Could be any service for that matter. Maybe, for example, laying of road, laying of pipelines, or any sewerage activities, or any electric related activities, or any activity for that matter, or any other service, chartered accountancy service, cost accountancy service, any service, and this is not just like that, and this is not just that it's applicable only for service, could be for goods also. Clear, my dear friends? Mr. X has given some service or goods. Correct, my dear friends? Right. When he's giving some service or goods, where the contract value is more than 2.5 lakhs. I repeat one more time. Contract value is more than what, my dear friends? 2.5 lakhs. Now they have fixed one limit in the law telling that we look at something called contract value. If the contract value is more than 2.5 lakhs, only then the provisions of TDS will apply. If the contract value is less than 2.5 lakhs, then the provisions of TDS will not apply. And as on today's date, I repeat one more time, as on today's date, TDS is not just applicable to everybody. TDS is applicable only to Department of Central Government, State Government, or any local authority, or any governmental agency, or any public sector undertaking. There are some notified list of persons, only for them TDS is applicable. That means there are some notified list of persons. I repeat one more time, there are some notified list of persons when payment is made by them. One more time I repeat, there are some notified list of persons when payment is made by them, only then TDS is applicable. Friends, last attempt, a question came in exam on TDS for 6 marks in the exam. They gave different transactions and asked whether TDS is applicable or not applicable. So no games, come on, please, important. Getting clarity? Speak out. Good, come on. So what is happening here? There is a Department of Government. Mr. X is actually supplying some service or supplying some goods to Department of Government. Yeah? Now, TDS provisions will apply only when contract value is more than 2.5 lakhs. And let me explain you, my dear friends. I repeat one more time. TDS provisions will apply. TDS provisions will apply only when contract value is more than 2.5 lakhs. And contract value always means invoice value excluding tax. I'm clearly writing that word excluding tax. That means we will see the figure before GST. In last attempt, one question has come where they gave contract value is 2,60,000 including GST. Contract value is 2,60,000 including GST. Like that they gave an exam. When they say contract value is 2,60,000, I repeat one more time, contract value is 2,60,000 including GST. If I rework it and calculate the figure before GST, the value is less than 2.5 lakhs. And when the value is less than 2.5 lakhs, the provisions of TDS will not apply. I repeat one more time, provisions of TDS will apply only when the contract value is more than 2.5 lakhs. Getting clarity, my dear friends? Speak out. Getting clarity, everybody? Friends, Wonderful. So friends, the provisions of TDS will apply only when what, my dear friends? Contract value is more than 2.5 lakhs. If the contract value is less than 2.5 lakhs, then there is no concept of TDS. That's something very clearly what you have to understand, my dear friends. So speak out everybody. Right. Now, for example, let's say here, there is some service or goods. I'll write it a different color. Let's say there's some service or goods. Let's say for a value of 10 lakh rupees. When the value is 10 lakh rupees, my dear friends, now here you need to understand that law uses a word called contract value. That means for each transaction we will not see separately. We will see all the contract combined together. For example, practically government gives road laying contract, or government gives a contract for laying of water pipelines, or government gives a contract for construction of a building, or any kind of contract for that matter. But payment is made by government department or any local authority or government agency and all, because only for them presently the provisions of TDS are applicable. Chalo friends. So there is some service or goods for a value of what, my dear friends? 10 lakhs. Now, Department of Government, I repeat one more time, Department of Government at the time of making payment or the time of credit or the time of payment of credit, at the time of what, my dear friends? Payment of credit, what they will do is they will do TDS at the rate of 1% plus 1% or 2%. Why did I say 1 plus 1 or 2? 1% plus 1% is CGST and SGST. Or if it's IGST transaction, directly will deduct 2%. That means what is happening here is that, Department of Government will pay to X only 9,80,000. 20,000 they'll deduct as what, my dear friends? TDS. 20,000 they'll deduct as TDS and they'll pay to them only 9,80,000. See, don't tell again, sir, is it like 194C? I mean, you should not tell 194C and all. That is all income tax TDS provisions. But this is GST TDS provisions. GST TDS is different. Income tax TDS is different. Getting clarity, everybody? So please understand that GST TDS is different. Income tax TDS is different. That also will apply. This also will apply. That is because of income tax provisions. This is because of GST provisions. Don't confuse yourself between income tax and GST. That is different. This is different. That also will apply. This also will apply. Getting clarity? Wonderful. So for a contract value of 10 lakh rupees, they'll do TDS at the rate of 1% plus 1% or 2% and pay only 9,80,000 to X. Now what will this Department of Government will do is, come on, listen very clearly here. Please kindly concentrate here what's happening. Come on, please focus. So what they'll do is that 20,000, whatever they deducted, they will pay to government by 10th of next month. By what, my dear friends? 10th of next month. By 10th of next month, they'll pay to what, my dear friends? Government. They'll pay to government means what? GST department. Clear, my dear friends? How they will pay? What are the challans and all? I'll explain you that separately, my dear friends. Getting clarity, everybody? So what's happening here now? Department of Government, they are liable to do TDS since the contract value is more than 2.5 lakh rupees. Here in this example, contract value is 10 lakh rupees. So what they'll do is, instead of paying 10 lakhs, they'll first reduce 20,000 and they'll pay only 9,80,000. That 20,000 they have to pay to the government by which date, my dear friends? By 10th of next month. Clear, my dear friends? And this Department of Government, whoever have done TDS, they will file one return in form GSTR 7. Come on. Which form they will file, my dear friends? They will file in a form called GSTR 7. GSTR 7. Now, X, he will also file one return, that is GSTR 1. GSTR 1. Now, what is GSTR 1? Let me tell you a very practical point. Sir, GSTR 1 is basically a statement of outward supplies. I repeat one more time. GSTR 1 is basically a statement of outward supplies, in which will basically show, what are all the outward supplies we have done. They will clearly report separately the transactions of B2B and B2C. That is registered to unregistered, that is B2B and B2C. Separately will report the transaction and file the return called GSTR 1. I repeat one more time, GSTR 1 is only a statement of outward supplies. Getting clarity, my difference? Come on now. So Department of Government filed what return? Otherwise, simple way, the person who has done TDS, what return they filed? They'll file return in a form called GSTR 7. In GSTR 7, they'll show details as to whom they made payment, what TDS they have done, all that they'll show the details. In which form? GSTR 7. Clear my difference? So GSTR 7 is filed by whom, sir? GSTR 7 is filed by the person who has done TDS. GSTR 7 is filed by the person who has done what, my dear friends? TDS. And GSTR 1 is what? Statement of outward supplies. Now what government will do? They'll basically try to match. They'll basically try to what, my dear friends? Match the figures given in GSTR 7 and GSTR 1. They'll definitely try to match. So as to ensure that the figures, whatever are reported by person who has done TDS and the person who has supplied, both will definitely match. So the figures given in GSTR 7 and GSTR 1 will be auto-matched by the government. So getting clarity, everybody? Now one interesting point which I want to tell you very clearly is, listen, kindly concentrate, kindly listen here. Come on, please listen. So what's happening here is that this 20,000 is paid to government, no sir? This 20,000 is paid to government or not? Speak out. This 20,000, whatever they paid to government, there is nothing but TDS. Now, for X, what will happen is that TDS deposited by deductor will reflect in electronic cash ledger. TDS deposited by whom, my dear friends? Deductor. I repeat one more time. Let me write that properly once again. Come on, please see that. TDS deposited by deductor. Come on. Just a second. Come on, my dear friends. Listen very clearly. Kindly please concentrate. Let me repeat the point once again. Listen. See, whatever TDS is deposited by the deductor, that will reflect in what, my dear friends? Electronic cash ledger of Mr. X. Friends, let me scroll this table once. I know you are yet to write. Don't worry. I'll scroll it back. But listen first. One small point you listen. Sir, for every registered person, for every what, my dear friends? Registered person, in online GST portal, they have given two ledgers called electronic cash ledger. Other one is called electronic credit ledger. I repeat one more time. There are two things called electronic cash ledger and electronic credit ledger. Now, one thing you have to understand very clearly is that electronic credit ledger will reflect the input tax credit. It will reflect what, my difference? Input tax credit. Whatever input tax credit he is eligible, that is reflected in electronic credit ledger. But whereas electronic cash ledger will reflect whatever we have deposited. Whatever we have deposited. See, for example, my dear friends. See, let's say, for example, one person, Mr. X, he has to pay 10 lakh rupees. Come on, how much he has to pay, my dear friends? 10 lakh rupees. When he has to pay 10 lakh rupees, my dear friends, let's say for a second, he has got ITC of 8 lakh rupees. That means this 8 lakhs is in which ledger? This 8 lakhs is in electronic credit ledger. Practically, we file one return called GSTR 3B, which is technically called as monthly summary return. Monthly what return? Summary return, in which we will show our output tax, input tax credit, everything we will show. Whatever tax we have to pay to the government, we will pay, and only then we will file our return. Clear my difference? I repeat one more time. Whatever tax we have to pay, we will pay all that, only then we can file our return. Now here what's happening here is that, what is the ITC we have? 8 lakhs we have in credit ledger, correct? So from 10 lakhs, we can set off only 8 lakhs. Now balance 2 lakhs, we will pay using electronic cash ledger. Now how will money come in electronic cash ledger? Basically we will deposit. We will generate challan and we'll deposit the money in cash ledger, either by NEFT, either by RTGS, either by OTC. Like that, all special points are there, which I'll teach you in detail in a chapter called payment of tax, which I'll tell you tomorrow. Exactly, I'll tell you tomorrow. How do we deposit money in that cash ledger? Here I'm not concerned about how to deposit money in cash ledger. Clear my difference? I hope you got the point, my dear friends, everybody. So one thing which I want to tell you is that electronic credit ledger will reflect only your input tax credit. That's it. Input tax credit on all our inward supply. I repeat one more time. On all our inward supply. One more time I repeat. On all our inward supply, whatever credit we have, that credit will be reflected in electronic credit ledger. But cash ledger is not like that. Why I'm explaining all this point? Because these all points I will tell again tomorrow in detail. Because tomorrow I'm going to teach you a chapter called payment of tax. But all said and done, you should know what is credit ledger, cash ledger. That's why I told this here. Listen here. So what's happening here now? That 20,000 deducted, and paid by the director to the government will reflect in electronic cash ledger of Mr. X. I repeat one more time, that amount will not reflect in electronic credit ledger, but that amount will reflect in electronic cash ledger. Now, what do we do with that? We'll use it for our output tax, as simple as that. But one thing you have to understand here, I wrote this point only on assumption that X is a registered person. X is what percent? Registered person. But if X is unregistered person, then gone. If X is unregistered person, then gone. Whatever TDS they have done, gone. Gone. Gone means gone completely. That 20,000, whatever TDS is done, it's a loss for you because you're unregistered fellow. Because you're unregistered person, how will that reflect in cash ledger and all? It's not possible. Correct, my dear friends? Now, don't tell me one point. Sir, I remember in registration you told one point called registration is mandatory. Hello. Let me tell you one point. I told you registration is mandatory only for person who is liable to do TDS. In fact, I very clearly remember in section 24, compulsory registration, I taught you one point very clearly telling that any person liable to deduct tax at source, for him registration is mandatory, even though they are already registered. That means even though they have got normal registration, I repeat one more time, even though they have got normal registration, for the purpose of doing TDS, they should take separate registration. Why? Because in general, registration under GST law is PAN based, permanent account number, 10-digit alphanumeric code. We know that, right? But the persons who deduct tax at source, they'll obtain their registration number using TAN, not using PAN. They obtain using TAN by difference. Practically, I've got a lot of clients for whom we file GSTR 7 actually. I've got one client as post office department. I've got one client who is a waterworks department. Whenever they make payment to somebody where the contract value is more than 2.5 lakhs, they'll do TDS and they'll file GSTR 7. Getting clarity, my dear friends? And whatever TDS is deposited, that TDS will reflect in electronic cash ledger of that person called X. If X is a registered person, if X is unregistered, gone. That's a loss. And nowhere in the law they told registration is mandatory for X. That they did not tell in law anywhere. Getting clarity? Come on, please take this diagram. Very, very important. Please write the diagram properly. Come on. Please write the diagram. Change. Come on, quick. I'll just wait for 2 minutes. And which section we are trying to talk here is all about which section? My section 51, which clearly talks about the provisions of TDS. Clear, my dear friends? Come on. Look at that diagram. Come on, please don't relax. Complete that quickly, my dear friends. Come on. So what's happening here? You keep writing, but I'll keep. You write this diagram, my dear friends. It will be very useful for you to revise subsequently. I mean, point by point, letter by letter, we'll write separately now. But to have the complete understanding of the concept, this diagram is very useful. That's why I really want to write this diagram. Clear, my difference? Go on. So what's happening here is that you keep writing, but I'll tell you the points. What's happening here is that section 51 deals with the concept of TDS, and as on today's date, the provisions of TDS is applicable only to department of central government, state government, or local authority, or any governmental agencies. Only to these kind of persons, the provisions of TDS are applicable at present. And whenever they make payment or credit, at that time they'll do TDS. And TDS is the rate of 1% plus 1% or 2%. 1% is CGST, SGST, or 2% is IGST. And the provisions of TDS is applicable only when the contract value is more than 2.5 lakhs. Contract value always means the value indicated in the invoice excluding GST. That means we will always see the value before GST, not the value after GST. And one thing you need to understand is that whatever TDS they have done, they'll deposit with the government by 10th of next month. And that TDS, whatever they deposited, will reflect in electronic cash ledger of X. That means that 20,000 is not a loss. That 20,000 will come back to Mr. X in electronic cash ledger. Because I am sure you all know the fact that the fundamental idea of TDS is only to track the transaction. So that we'll identify the transaction at the starting stage itself. And as per provisions of registration, section 24, registration is mandatory for any person liable to deduct tax at source. For any person liable to deduct tax at source, for him registration is mandatory, even though he is already registered. Even though he's already registered, still he should take separate registration for the purpose of doing TDS. Getting clarity, friends? Let me proceed now. Come on. Friends, in order to give you clarity, I want to do something actually. What is that? Let me show you. Sir, this form is basically your GSTR 7. I wanted to look at that, my dear friends. Come on, please look at that once. Which form you are looking at? Just a second. Yeah, now I got it. So which form you're talking about? GSTR 7. Please look at that, full clarity will come. GSTR 7, return for what, my dear friends? Tax deducted at source. It was written for TDS. Look at it, what is happening here? Year, month, GSTIN. GSTIN of what? In my example, GSTIN of the government department. Legal name of deductor, trade name if any. Generally they will not have any trade name as such, but legal name will be. Legal name always means what? Legal name always means name as per PAN, name as per PAN, or name as per TAN for that matter. Getting clarity? Come on, see now next. One second. See now, details of what, my dear friends? Details of tax deducted at source. Come on, please see that, my dear friends. Don't relax like that. Come on, please concentrate. Why is this not working here? Just 1 second. Yes. Can you look at that now? Come on. So what is the first point, dear friends? GSTR 7. Return for what? TDS, year, month, then GSTI, legal name, trade name. Then what, my dear friends? Details of what, sir? Details of TDS. Here you need to observe the word here. GSTIN of whom, sir? Deductee. That is the most interesting, important point. You need to have a clarity upon that. We will give here details of GSTIN of what, my dear friends? Deductee. When I'm giving GSTN of deductee, that is where that amount will reflect in electronic cash ledger of deductee. In my example, that is where it will reflect in electronic cash ledger of Mr. X. Because if we don't give GSTN, then how will the amount reflect in the cash ledger? Getting clarity, friends? You need to understand that fact very clearly. Speak out. Exactly. Come on. Next line you see. What is the amount paid to deductee on which tax is deducted? What is the amount of TDS? IGST, CGST, SGST or UTGST? Then, next point. amendments to details of TDS in respect of earlier tax period. That means in a particular month return, if we made a mistake, if we make a mistake, we can rectify that in subsequent month return. See, under GST law, one important point, I think most of you know this, but still, for the clarity of all my dear friends, let me tell you one fundamental, very, very important point in GST law. In GST law, if a return is once filed, it cannot be revised, unlike income tax law. In income tax law, we have got one beautiful concept that after we file the return, if there's a mistake in the return, that return can be revised. But under GST law, if there's a mistake in the return, that return cannot be revised. In GST law, if there's a mistake in the return, next month return, you rectify that. Next month return, you'll have a column called amendments. In amendments, give what details? Original details, revised details. Getting clarity? Next. Next point one. Tax, TDS, whatever you have done and whatever you have paid. What is the tax deducted? What is paid? Are we getting clarity? Next. Interest, late fees, penalty, if any comes. We will talk about interest, late fees, penalty very, very soon. Clear? Next. Refund claimed from what? Electronic cash ledger. This we'll talk about in chapter called refunds. We'll discuss in detail how refunds work in GST law. Whether we can take refund from credit ledger, whether we can take refund from cash ledger, all that we'll talk in detail. Clear my difference? Next. Debit entries in cash ledger for TDS or interest payment to be populated after payment of tax and submission of returns. That means once you make payment, this will auto-populate. This will auto-populate how you have paid. That details will come automatically here. Getting clarity, friends? Speak out. Wonderful. Come on. Verification. This is very common standard statement. I hereby solemnly affirm and declare that information given herein above is true and correct to the best of knowledge and belief, and nothing has been concealed therefrom. Concealed means what? Hidden. Signature, name of authorized signatory, designation or status, place and date. Finally, 1-2 instructions they'll give. GSTN means what? GST identification number. TDS means what? Tax deducted at source. Table 3 will capture tax deducted. Table 4 will contain amendment of information provided in the earlier tax period. And this line you see, return cannot be filed without full payment of liability. Obviously, first pay everything, only then you file. Getting clarity, friends? We cannot file unless we pay. So friends, I really want you to observe that 2 important columns are only there here. One, the year, month, what we give. Table number 3 and table number 4 are most important. Table number 3 talks about the details of TDS. Table number 4 talks about amendments for earlier period. This return they will file, and in which they will reflect this GSTN of deductee. Only then that amount will reflect electronic cash ledger of whom, my dear friends? The deductee. But if deductee is unregistered, that amount cannot be reported here. It's practically not possible. That's where generally, practically, what will happen is that majority of the persons, by majority, so far whatever I have seen, I'll tell you, whatever cases I've seen, everybody, whoever gave service to government, they all took registration. For a simple reason, because government will do TDS. Who will lose that 2%, man? Every rupee will import it. Who will lose that 2%? That's why everybody take registration practically. I mean, as per law, nowhere they mandated registration for the deductee. In law, they registration mandated only for deductor. But practically every deductee will take registration because ultimately whatever TDS is done, he wants that amount back. That's why he'll take registration. Getting clarity, everybody? That's the story of GSTR 7, my dear friends. Speak out. Everybody getting clarity, all of us? Wonderful. Let me go back, sir. So this is a chart what we prepared, and we discussed a lot in this particular chart, my dear friends. Are we clear with this, my dear friends? Everybody, sir? Sure. Next. One very special point let me teach you, my dear friends, to make you understand this concept very, very perfectly. Listen. Listen very clearly. I'll discuss 2-3 examples to give you full clarity on this, sir. And one special concept is there, which I really want you to understand. Listen, example number 1. Let's say, listen, there is Telangana state government. Okay? Now what is happening here is that there is one person called Mr. X. He is one top architect who is a registered person in Andhra Pradesh, who is an RP in AP. Now, Telangana government wants to set up one guest house in AP. Come on, my dear friends. What does Telangana government want to do, my dear friends? Telangana government want to set up one guest house in AP, for which Telangana government contacted Mr. X and paid him 30 lakhs and told him to give design, for guest house in AP. Friends, let me make you recollect one important concept here. What is place of supply in this particular case? Place of supply is nothing but AP. I clearly told this point to you that in case of immovable property, I repeat one more time, in case of service in relation to immovable property, place of supply will be the place where property is located or intended to be located. So where place of supply here? AP. And where is location of supplier? AP. Place of supply is in AP. Location of supplier also is in AP. I'll do one small change here, sir. Service is being given to AP government only. Service is being given to what, my dear friends? AP government only. AP government, I repeat one more time, AP government wants to set up one guest house in AP, for which they contacted Mr. X, who is one top architect, who is a registered person in Andhra Pradesh, and they wanted him to give service. Now, what will X charge? X will definitely charge CGST and SGST. Why it will charge CGST and SGST? For the reason being that location of supplier and place of supply both are in same state. If the location of supplier and place of supply both are in same state, they will charge CGST and SGST. But if location of supplier and place of supply both are in different state, they will charge IGST. But in this particular example, what I gave, location of supplier and place of supply both are in same state. So definitely what will come is CGST and SGST. Now, what will happen, my dear friends? AP government will do TDS at the rate of 1% plus 1%. Getting clarity, everybody? That's for a simple reason, because contract value is more than 2.5 lakhs. That's it. Next situation, listen here. Next example, you listen. Listen, come on, listen. There is Telangana state government, and this Telangana state government, they want to have one guest house in Telangana state. One guest house in what, my dear friend? Telangana state. And there is one person called Mr. X, who is one top architect in AP. Top architect in AP. So Telangana state government has contacted X and paid him 30 lakhs to provide some design in relation to guest house to be set up in which state, my dear friends? Telangana state. Now let me ask you one straight question, my dear friends. In this particular case, where is location of supply? Location of supply is AP. Where is place of supply, my dear friends? Telangana state. When the location of supplier and place of supply are in two different states, my dear friends, what will happen now? X will charge, what's a IGST? X will charge what, my dear friends? IGST. And Telangana state government, at the time of making payment or the time of credit, they will do TDS directly at the rate of 2% and pay only the balance to him. Getting clarity, friends? So rate of TDS is 1% plus 1%. If it's IGST, the rate of TDS is directly 2%, my dear friends. Very interesting concept, which actually makes a lot of sense. I'm sure we are very clear. But in center, I left a lot of space. Why? Something very important. Now don't write. 2 minutes, don't write. Listen first. Listen. After that, I'll wait for 2 minutes. Then you can write. But first listen. Come on. Sir, let's say there is Telangana state government. Okay. I'll use a different color so that clarity will come. So let's say there is Telangana state government. And Telangana state government, they basically want to set up one guest house in Andhra Pradesh. Guest house in what, my dear friends? Andhra Pradesh. For that particular purpose, they contacted one person called X to provide design for this guest house. And Telangana government is going to pay 30 lakhs. So you need to understand the difference between first example, second example, third example. First example is a case where service is being taken by AP government. Second example is a case where service is being taken by Telangana government. Third example is a case where service is taken by Telangana government only, but guest house is in AP. Now, X also is in registered person in AP only, my dear friends. Friends, I'll ask you one straight question. Tell me very clearly, what is location of supplier? AP. So supplier is who, sir? X, sir. Government is not supplier. X is supplier. Come on. Where is location of supplier? AP. Where is place of supply? AP. Yes or no? Next. When this is the case, Mr. X will charge. Mr. X will charge what, my dear friends? CGST and SGST. Mr. X will charge what, sir? CGST and SGST. Getting clarity, sir? Now you need to understand that this concept, there's a small difference. When I say this and this, what is that I'm talking about? See, in first example also, there is CGST, SGST. Second example also, there is CGST, SGST. Correct? I mean to say, there are third example what I'm talking. See, first example what I gave you, it was CGST, SGST. I'll write the number here. Example number 1, there is CGST, SGST. Example number 2 also there is CGST, SGST. But whereas example number 3, there is IGST. Now, first question I'll ask you, in example 1, is the provisions of TDS applicable? Yes. Perfect. In example 3, are the provisions of TDS applicable? Yes. Now, when I'm talking about example 2, my dear friends, in this particular case, why I'm so much concerned and I'm writing so slowly is that in example 2, the provisions of TDS will not apply. Now, what is the point they told is that if location of supplier, I repeat one more time, if location of supplier and place of supply is in a state or UT, which is different from, which is what, my difference? Different from state or UT of recipient, then no TDS will apply. When I say no TDS, I'm talking about under section 51. Friends, I repeat one more time, my dear friends. Let me explain that point to you once again very clearly. Kindly please listen, my dear friends. Sir, there is one special case. I repeat one more time. There is one special case where the provisions of TDS will not apply. Now, what is that one special case where provisions of TDS will not apply? That is what I'm trying to explain to you, my dear friends. Sir, one special case where provisions of TDS will not apply is something like this. Provisions of TDS will not apply if the location of supplier and place of supply is in one state. That is, in second example, location of supplier and place of supply is in AP and location of recipient is in another state. What is another state? Telangana here in this example. In this particular case, what law told is that TDS will not apply. Now, my dear friends, it's not just that we will learn just like that and leave it. You should also get the logic behind why they told like this. Let me explain to you, sir. Let me explain one point to you. Sir, listen. Sir, imagine a case where, listen. I'll scroll that once again. Don't worry. Listen. Sir, there is Shivateja, who is a registered person in Telangana state. Registered person in Telangana state. Okay, my dear friends. Now, what has happened? I went to Bengaluru and I stayed in a hotel in Bengaluru, and hotel is a registered person in Karnataka state. Registered person in what state, sir? Karnataka state. Now, when I stay in the hotel, my dear friends, let me tell you very clearly, hotel will charge CGST and SGST. Hotel will charge what, my dear friends? CGST and SGST. Just because, I repeat one more time, just because Shivateja is from Telangana state, just because, I repeat one more time, my dear friends, just because, I repeat one more time, please listen, my dear friends, just because Shivateja is from Telangana state, that doesn't mean that they will charge IGST. They will still charge CGST and SGST only. Please understand that point very clearly. Now, my question is about, can Shivateja claim input tax credit? So I repeat one more time, just because Shivateja is from Telangana state doesn't mean that hotel will charge IGST, my dear friends. See, whether to charge CGST or SGST, I repeat one more time, whether to charge CGST or SGST or whether to charge IGST is all dependent on the concept called place of supply. Because if the location of supplier and place of supply both are in same state, we will charge CGST and SGST. But if the location of supplier and place of supply are in different state, we will call it as interstate supply and we will charge IGST. I repeat one more time, listen very clearly. If the location of supplier and place of supply both are in same state, we will call it as intrastate supply and we will charge CGST and SGST. But if the location of supplier and place of supply both are in different state, we will call it as interstate supply and we will charge IGST, my dear friends. What do we charge, sir? IGST, my dear friends. Now, in this particular case, when they charge CGST, SGST, because LOS is in Karnataka, POS also is in Karnataka. Because in case of immovable property, place of supply is the place where property is located or intended to be located. So place of supply is Karnataka only, location of supply also Karnataka only. So what they will charge is CGST and SGST. Can Shivateja claim input tax credit? 101% answer is no. Not because you are not eligible for credit. That is because as per GST law, one point let me tell you, my dear friends, we can take credit only of two taxes. One, CGST, SGST, what we paid in our own state. CGST, SGST, what we paid in our own state. Second, IGST paid in a different interstate transaction. But we cannot take credit of CGST, SGST paid in different state. That means Shivateja being a registered person of Telangana state, I cannot take credit of CGST, SGST paid in Karnataka. Correct, my dear friends? Getting clarity? Because law always believes that it is very difficult to do settlement mechanism. Transferring the tax from Karnataka to Telangana is practically difficult. That's where they put one clause in the law telling that you can take credit of CGST, SGST paid in the same state, you can take credit of IGST. But, I repeat one more time, but you cannot take credit of CGST, SGST paid in different state. So in the same manner, my dear friends, going back to my examples, 3 examples what I wrote. See here, come on, going back to my 3 examples. Example number 1, what was charged? CGST, SGST, all 3 are in same state. In that case, TDS provisions are applicable. In example 3, what is there? IGST is there. There also TDS is applicable. But example 2 is one special case where location of supply and place of supply. Location of supply and place of supply both are in one state and location of recipient is in another state. In that particular case, they clearly told that TDS provisions will not apply because the transfer of TDS is basically difficult, my dear friends. Transfer of TDS is basically difficult because both are in different states. So practically it's not possible to transfer the TDS. IGST, yes, of course. With IGST, that is integrated GST and all, where central government only controls that IGST, they told TDS will apply. But TDS will not apply only in one case. That is location of supply and place of supply. Both are in one state and location of recipient is in another state. Only then TDS will not apply. I repeat one more time, my dear friends. I repeat one more time. Sir, if all three are in same state, TDS will apply. TDS will apply. If the location of supplier, and place of supply are in different state, then also TDS will apply. TDS will not apply only in one special case, that is location of supplier and place of supply. Both are in one state and location of recipient is in another state. Only in that special case, TDS will not apply, because transfer of TDS from this state to that state is practically difficult. That's where they clearly told in such cases TDS would not apply. Clear, my dear friends? Are you getting clarity? This provision is given 51 only. So I repeat one more time, my dear friends. If all three are in same state, that is example 1, TDS will apply. But if the location of supplier and place of supply is in different state, then also TDS will apply. That is example 3, sir. But in example 2, that is TDS will not apply in case where location of supply and place of supply is in one state and location of recipient is in another state. Only then TDS will not apply. Getting clarity? Speak out, sir. The only reason being that transfer of TDS from this state to another state is practically difficult. That is why only in that case TDS will not apply. Clear? Come on, please write down. No, don't relax like that. Please write the 3 examples. Come on. I'll just wait for 2 minutes for you. Write down. Write all the 3 examples. Please write properly. Come on. Done? That's it. Good. So friends, to give you clarity, let me write the 3 points in a simple manner. I'll write the 3 points. I mean, one by one, 3 points. I'll write which cases TDS will come, which case TDS will not come, so that you will get full clarity. Because I wrote this concept by an example, by using all the diagrams and all. But now let me write in 3 points so that you can remember it very easily. Clear? Now let me write. Can I proceed? Please finish writing. Good. I'll proceed now. This point already you know, sir. Come on, my dear friends. Listen. Listen very clearly. What is the concept I'm writing? First point. If supplier, come on, place of supply and recipient are in same state, what will happen, my dear friends? TDS would apply. TDS what, sir? Would apply, definitely. Second, if supplier and place of supply are in different state, then also TDS would apply, because in that case type of tax what is charged is IGST. That also TDS will apply. Third point, last point, my dear friends, if supplier and place of supply are in one state, if supplier and place of supply are in one state and recipient is located in another state, recipient is located in what, my dear friends? Another state. In this particular case, no TDS. That means in the third situation, provisions of TDS will not apply. And let me tell you very clearly here one fundamental point, that is, for this, refer example 1. For this, refer example 3. For this, refer example 2. That's it, which I already wrote for you. Are we clear with all these points? Something very interesting and important, my dear friends, which clearly says the point that TDS provisions will not apply if the location of supplier and place of supply is in one state and the location of recipient is in another state. Clear? In that particular case, the provisions of TDS will not apply. Something interesting and important. Small concept, but very interesting and important. Are we clear, everyone? Speak out. Come on, please take that 3 points. Don't relax like that. Please write down. Now, so friends, we have discussed very clearly all the important provisions or all the important aspects related to TDS under section 51. Now let's spend some good time in writing point by point, word by word. We'll write all the provisions of the TDS. I'll also write very slowly. You also write. Come on, get it. Let's start. Chalo friends, put side heading section 51. What does 51 talk about? Provisions of TDS. Clear? Listen. First point. TDS provisions are applicable to following persons. TDS provisions are applicable to following persons. Chalo. First point. Any department, I repeat one more time, any what, my dear friends? Department or establishment of central government or state government. Come on, first point. Come on, please keep writing also. But first point, any department or establishment of central government or state government. B point, local authority. Chalo friends, we are trying to talk about for whom TDS provision is applicable. That means when who all make the payments, TDS will apply. But first point, any department or establishment of central government or state government. Second point, local authority. C point, governmental agencies. Come on friends, what the first point I wrote? First point what I wrote is any department or establishment of central government or state government. Second point is what, my dear friends? Local authority. Third point is what? Governmental agencies. Clear? Come on, repeat again. What the first point? Any department or establishment of central government or state government. Second, local authority. Third, governmental agencies. Fourth one, D point I'll write. That is any other notified person or category of persons. Any other notified person or category of persons. So it is very important to know who are this notified category of persons. Getting clarity, friends? Speak out. Wonderful. We'll discuss all that, who are notified. But before that, let's write one note, my dear friends. The note what we are trying to write is that provisions of TDS are applicable only on certain, I repeat one more time, provisions of TDS are applicable only on certain prescribed authorities, of Ministry of Defense. Only on prescribed authorities of Ministry of Defense. That means they'll prescribe for which department of Ministry of Defense these provisions are applicable. That means for all the authorities That means for all the departments of Ministry of Defense, this section will not apply. They'll prescribe for which department of Ministry of Defense it will apply. So far, nothing is prescribed as such. So don't worry to apply to your brain as to for which department of Ministry of Defense they'll apply this. Clear, my dear friends? Now, let's talk about who are the notified category of persons. It is important to know who are notified category of persons. Come on, what the first point we wrote? TDS provisions are applicable to following persons. Number one, department or establishment of central government or state government. Second point, local authority. Third point, governmental agencies. Next, any other notified person or category of persons. Then what is the note we wrote? Provisions of TDS are applicable only on certain prescribed authorities of Ministry of Defense. That means other authorities of Ministry of Defense are not required to do TDS. So let's talk about who are the notified category of persons. Come on. Who are the notified persons till now? Till now, they are notified 2-3 persons, my dear friends. Who is that? Let's understand, my dear friends. Listen, come on. An authority or board, an authority or what, my dear friends? Board or any other body set up by an act of Parliament. Any other body, I repeat one more time, an authority or a body or an authority or a board or any other body set up by an act of Parliament. I know what is going in your brain. Sir, ICA set up by act of Parliament. I know what you will tell, but ICA will not come here. Why? Listen. Set up by an act of Parliament or state legislature or established by any government, or established by what, my dear friends? Any government in which 51% or more participation, what, my dear friends? Participation by way of equity or control. By way of equity or what, my dear friends? Control. By way of equity or control is with government. By way of equity or control is with government. That's what I told our ICA will not come here. Come on, what is covered here only, sir? Here what is covered is an authority or board or any other body set up by an act of Parliament or state legislature or established by any government in which 51% or more participation by way of equity or control is with whom, my dear friends? Government. Getting clarity, everybody? 51% or more participation is with government. Are we clear with this, everyone? Wonderful. So I really want you to underline that word called 51%. That's a very important word. Make sense? So notified persons we are talking about. First one, an authority or board or any other body set up by an act of Parliament or state legislature or established by any government in which 51% or more participation by way of equity or control is with government. Second point. Any society established, come on, what, my dear friends? Society established by central government or state government or local authority. Any society established by central government or state government or local authority under Societies Registration Act 1860. Come, my dear friends, what the first point we wrote? An authority or board or any other body set up by an act of Parliament or state legislature or established by any government in which 51% or more participation by way of equity or control is with government. What is the second point we wrote? Any society established by central government or state government or local authority under Society Registration Act 1860. Finally, last point, not really much, very simple and easy. Last point is PSU. I'm sure we all know what is PSU. What is PSU? Public sector undertakings. That's it. These are the notified persons for whom TDS provisions will apply. That means not when payment is received by them. That means when payment is made by these persons, they should do TDS. So as on today's date, TDS provisions are applicable only to the government departments. That means when government department is making the payment, they will do TDS. At what rate? 1% plus 1% or 2%. Clear my difference? To summarize the whole story, for whom TDS provisions are applicable? Number one, any department or establishment of central government or state government. Second, local authority. Third, governmental agencies. Fourth, any other notified person. Now, who are notified? Let me open that slide now. Who are notified? See that, come on. An authority or board or any other body set up by an act of parliament or state legislature or established by any government in which 51% or more participation by way of equity or control is with government. Second, society established by central government or state government or local authority under Society Registration Act 1860. Last point, public sector undertaking. Getting clarity, friends? Speak out. Wonderful. Chalo. Now, one special point, let me tell you, which is important to know. I'll put the side heading only as special point. Now, what is the special point? Listen. First special point. No TDS if there is supply from. No TDS if there is supply from one person to another person. One person to another person specified in section 51. That means if there is a supply between local authority and department of central government, then TDS will not apply. Or if there is a supply between any governmental agency and department of government, that means if government is doing, TDS will not apply. Very logic. For their own self, why will they put TDS? Clear my difference? Everybody. Next, second point. No TDS if there is supply from a PSU. Supply from what, my dear friends? A PSU to another PSU. If there is from PSU to PSU, no question of TDS. This point especially gave, separately they gave this point, telling that if there is a supply from PSU to PSU, then TDS provisions will not apply. Getting clarity? So for their own self, why will they put TDS, man? That's a simple point here. Are we getting clarity, everyone? So speak out. Are we clear with this, everyone? Friends, does this point make sense for everybody? Which section we're talking about? Section 51, which deals with what? Which deals with what? Provisions of TDS. And TDS provisions we clearly discussed. I told you complete chat, and we're trying to write all the points what are all covered here. Does this make sense to everybody? So friends, for whom the provisions of TDS is applicable, if I have to go back to the concept, one, department or establishment of central government or state government. Second, local authority. Third, governmental agency. Fourth, any other notified person. Who is notified? An authority or board or any other body set up by an act of parliament or state legislature or established by any government in which 51% or more participation by way of equity or control is with government. Second, society established by central government or state government or local authority. Last one, PSU. What is PSU? Public sector undertaking. And practically we have got so many PSUs. NTPC, ONGC, BHEL, HPCL, Power Grid, what not. So many PSUs are there in India, public sector undertakings. Clear, my dear friends? Then, what are two special points I wrote here? No TDS if there is supply from one person to another person specified in 51. So, one person specified in 51, TDS will not apply. Second, from one PSU to another PSU, TDS will not apply. Clear, my dear friends? Speak out. Wonderful. Next. Next, my dear friends, I'll put side heading now as other points in 51. That means balance points in 51. We'll learn these points and then we'll complete. Clear? Number one, TDS to be done from payment made. TDS to be done, when said from payment made. I repeat one more time. TDS to be done from payment made or credited to supplier. TDS to be done from payment made or credited to the supplier of taxable supplies where total contract value, total what value, sir? Contract value is more than 2.5 lakhs. And already I told you very clearly what is contract value and all. Contract value is nothing but invoice value excluding GST. Clear, my reference? We'll take value before GST. So the value before GST is more than 2.5 lakhs. Only then TDS provisions will apply. And also please note that TDS provisions will apply only when there is a taxable supply. If the supply is exempt, then there is no question of TDS. I believe that we are understanding this point. If the supply is exempt, then there is no question of TDS. Are we understanding? Speak out. If supply is exempt, there is no question of TDS. TDS we will do only for taxable supplies. If the supply is exempt supply, then there is no question of TDS. Also, please note one point very clearly, my dear friends. Here we are talking about something called total contract value. That means individual supply could be less than 2.5 lakhs. But if the total contract is more than 2.5 lakhs, then TDS will apply. And that too, you have to observe the word called exceed 2.5 lakhs, more than 2.5 lakhs. If it is exactly 2.5 lakhs also, TDS provisions will not apply. TDS provisions will apply only when the total value of supply under a contract is more than 2.5 lakhs. Exactly 2.5 lakhs also, TDS will not apply. Getting clarity? Next point. Such TDS to be deposited by which date? I already told 10th of next month. I already told in chat, but we want to write all the points. Point by point, I want to write. That's why we are explaining all these things to you. Clear, my dear friends? Next. Deductor shall issue TDS certificate. Deductor shall issue what, my dear friends? TDS certificate. And let me tell you, TDS certificate is given in one form called GSTR 7A. TDS certificate in GSTR 7A within 5 days from date of deposit of TDS. That means directly don't tell 15th, my dear friends. Don't tell that is 10th, this is 15th. That answer is wrong. They did not tell 10th, they did not tell the word called 5 days from due date of deposit. They use the word called 5 days from what, my dear friends? They clearly told the word 5 days from date of deposits. You need to understand that point very clearly. So 5 days from date of deposit. That means if the TDS is deposited on 8th, then this becomes 15th. If it's on 9th, this becomes 14th. If it's on 10th, this becomes 15th. If it's on 6th, this becomes 11th. So don't write in the exam 10th, 15th and all. That becomes a wrong answer, my dear friends. Are you getting clarity? Come on. TDS should be deposited when? TDS should be deposited by 10th of next month. And certificate they'll give which form, my dear friends? GSTR 7A. And certificate they'll give, which certificate they should give within how much time? 5 days of date of remittance to the government. And let me tell you, practically, I have never seen GSTR 7A. For the reason because GSTR 7A is practically not being implemented. Getting clarity, sir? But 1-2 points to tell you very clearly is that, listen, come on, next point. If certificate is not given within time, then deductor has to pay. Deductor has to what, my dear friends? Pay late fees of 100 per day. Deductor should pay late fees of how much, my dear friends? 100 per day, subject to maximum 5,000. That means after 5 days is over, after that, what, my dear friends? After that, 100 per day has to pay late fees. So, getting clarity, everybody? And moreover, my dear friends, let me tell you one more interesting point. If TDS is not deposited, within time, now what is within time? Within time is nothing but 10th of next month. Then, interest under section 50 to be paid. We have got interest provisions, my dear friends. There is some interest called 18% per annum we have to pay, which I'll discuss with you in detail in tomorrow's class about the topic called payment of tax. and interest, section 49 and 50. They will talk in detail, my dear friends. Are we getting clarity, everyone? Next. We're just talking other points, my dear friends. Next. TDS so deposited. Come on, don't sit like that. Please write also. TDS so deposited will reflect in electronic cash ledger of whom, sir? Deductee. Will reflect electronic cash ledger of what, my dear friends? Deductee. Sir, I hope you are getting clarity basically. So basically they are trying to do the matching concept. I clearly told about GSTR7, GSTR1 matching and all. So there's something like, even in income tax, you have got some form called Form 26AS. You know that, no? In Form 26AS, you can see your TDS credit, what you have. Here also same story. So speak out. Finally, one last point I'll tell you. That is, in case of excess TDS, deposited, deductor can claim refund. However, if it is already reflecting in cash ledger. If it's already reflecting in what, my dear friends? Cash ledger of deductee, then no refund. Obviously, common sense point. When another party has taken credit of that, then how will refund come, my dear friends? There is a high possibility like this. Clear, my dear friends? They might pay more TDS. Speak out. Are we clear? That's it, my dear friends. That's the end of story for this beautiful section called section 51, which deals with the concept of TDS, something extremely important and super duper important concept, which actually makes a lot of sense and a high possibility one question will come in exam. And so far came many times in the exam. That's why I had to go very slow and tell you every point by point, word by word in detail. That's it. That's the end of story for section 51. And one point just to clarify you, my dear friends, in case of excess TDS deposited, here not just deductee, it can be deductee, deductor or deductee, my dear friends. I repeat one more time, just to clarify you one small point, my dear friends. Come on, please listen here. Just to clarify you one small point, in case of what's a excess TDS deposited, deductor or deductee can claim refund. To clarify you this point, I'll give a small example here, my dear friends. See, for example, there is one person called Mr. A, and there is government. Government is actually supposed to pay him 10 lakh rupees. They have to do TDS. Let's say there is IGST. They should do TDS at what rate? 2%. But instead of doing 2%, by mistake, government has done 10% TDS. 10% TDS. That means what has happened now? Extra 80,000 TDS done. Extra 80,000 TDS done. This extra 80,000 TDS done, what they'll do, either government will take refund and give that money back to A, or either government will take refund and give that money to A, or A only will claim refund. But there is one point here. If they do TDS 10%, let's say that is 1 lakh. If this 1 lakh is already taken as credit in electronic cash ledger of A, then refund will not come. Because that amount is already there in cash ledger, no? Then why do you want separate refund? From cash ledger you take refund. We have got one separate chapter called refunds. There we'll talk in detail once again about all these points. Don't worry. Getting clarity, friends? Speak out. So if excess TDS is done, then what will happen? Deductor or deductee. I repeat one more time. Deductor or deductee, any one of them can claim refund. And the amount will go back to the particular person. However, if it's already reflecting in cash ledger, then there is no question of refund, my dear friends. Very much common sense point, obviously. Because if you take refund will come, cash ledger also amount will be there. Double you will take. Hello, control. Wonderful, guys. That's said. That's the end of story for section 51. Very, very beautiful section. Concept of TDS. Only one section 51. But so much depth, so much concept is there. Came in exams so many times. That is the reason why I had to spend so much of time and discuss in detail. Chalo. Now let's move to next section. So friends, we are just done with discussion about the concept of TDS. Now let's spend some good time on discussion about the concept of TCS dealt by section 52. 51 deals with the concept of TDS, whereas 52 deals with the concept of TCS. But TCS concept is not so big, unlike the TDS. TDS took so much of time for us to discuss so many detailed points involved there, but TCS will not take that much time. So we have got some very simple topic to talk. Let's discuss that and become perfect, my dear friends. Let me give a complete example first to give a complete overall picture of what TCS is all about. Then we'll discuss all special points involved, and point by point we'll write down and close this section. This section will not take too much of time like TDS. This is comparatively very simple compared to TDS. So let's do that and close this, my dear friends. Listen. See, for example, there is somebody called PQR Limited. This particular person this particular entity called PQR Limited, let's say, is a registered person in Maharashtra and dealer in toys. Dealer in what, my dear friends? Toys. Now, there is somebody called Amazon. Amazon is also a registered person. And if you recollect, I told you one important concept in section 24, compulsory registration. One special important point I told you that registration is mandatory for every e-commerce operator liable to collect tax at source. In other words, I told two important points in registration. One, of course, I mean, we told so many important points, but in section 24, two important points we had was one, every person liable to do TDS whether or not separately registered. Second, I'm talking about in relation to TCS and TDS. One more point we learned, every e-commerce operator liable to collect tax at source. For him also registration is mandatory. And one more point we learned in section 24, that is, if any person supplying goods through e-commerce operator, for him also registration is mandatory. Friends, two things I told. One, registration is mandatory for e-commerce operator liable to do TCS. Second, registration is mandatory for the person supplying goods through e-commerce operator. If a person is supplying service through e-commerce operator, for him registration is not mandatory unless his turnover exceeds threshold limit of 20 lakhs or 10 lakhs as the case may be. That's getting clarity, everybody. Friends, let me repeat one more time. Registration is mandatory for number one, e-commerce operator liable to collect tax at source. Number two, registration is also mandatory for person supplying goods through e-commerce operator. But if person is supplying service through e-commerce operator, for him registration is not mandatory. Are we getting clarity on this point? So what is the interesting thing I want to tell you now here is PQR Limited is a registered person. Where, my dear friends? In Maharashtra. Apart from that, Amazon is also a registered person. Now, PQR Limited, what they are basically doing is they are supplying toys. And they are supplying the toys through Amazon. Now, let's say there is somebody called Mr. Shivateja. Mr. Shivateja, yeah, come on, concentrate. Mr. Shivateja. I opened Amazon app and I ordered a toy. Not for me, for my son. Okay. So what I have done, my dear friends, I opened Amazon app and I ordered a toy. You tell me, my dear friends, very clearly, is a toy being sold actually by Amazon? Answer is no. The toy is actually being sold by PQR Limited, but PQR Limited is actually selling that toy through Amazon. See, a lot of times you have to realize that when we buy some products on Amazon, Flipkart, whatnot, practically so many apps are there like this for delivery. Clear, my dear friends? Now, when we open Amazon and order some goods, it is not that every good is being manufactured and supplied by Amazon only. There are so many other suppliers who are registered with Amazon and are supplying to Amazon. For example, when Shivateja orders one toy through Amazon, one box will come. That box will have sticker of Amazon. I agree. But when I open the box and I look at the invoice, Invoice is actually given by PQR Limited, but not by Amazon. Please realize that. Because actual supplier is not Amazon, actual supplier is PQR Limited. Clear, my dear friends? Now, one point I really want to tell you here is, I opened the app, Amazon, and I ordered one toy. Clear, my dear friends? When I ordered one toy, let's say the toy value is 10,000 rupees. Example, 10,000 rupees. Now what I will do, I'll ask you one question, guys. Will Shivateja, I repeat one more time, will Shivateja make payment directly? Will Shivateja make payment directly to PQR Limited, or will I make payment to Amazon? Obviously, common sense point, I will not make payment directly to PQR Limited, but I'll make payment to Amazon. Then Amazon will make payment to what? PQR Limited. So what they have told very clearly is that when Amazon is making payment to PQR Limited from 10,000, they will reduce something called TCS at the rate of 0.5% plus 0.5%, or it can be 1% also. If you remember, I told you very clearly, TDS rate is what percent? 1% plus 1%. But TCS, 0.5 plus 0.5. Also keep in mind one very, very important special point. That is, provisions of TDS will apply only when contract value is more than 2.5 lakhs. But here, there is nothing called contract value more than 2.5 lakhs. See, the name is TCS. The name is TCS, but concept is like TDS only. But the reason they put that word TCS is because Amazon is not the actual payer. Amazon is only acting as a collecting agency. I repeat one more time, Amazon is not the actual payer. Actual payer is Shivateja. I repeat one more time, Amazon is not the actual payer is Shivateja. But Amazon is acting as a collecting agency. That is why we are calling this as tax collected at source. Tax collected at what, my dear friends? Source. Very interesting, very beautiful line actually. What is that word? TCS stands for what? Tax collected at source. Are you understanding this part, everybody? Now, what is the rate of TCS? Rate of TCS is 0.5% plus 0.5%. Are we clear? Now, one interesting point is that Amazon, whatever TCS they have done, TCS done to be paid to government by 10th of next month. TCS done to pay to the government by 10th of next month. Same like TDS concept, no change. Same like our TDS concept, where TDS also I told you that TDS we have to deposit by 10th of next month. Same logic here also. Getting clarity? Now, here I'll write one line, listen. Such TCS shall reflect in electronic what ledger? Cash ledger of PQR Limited. Same like TDS concept. In TDS also I told you this point that whatever TDS is deposited, that will reflect in electronic cash ledger of deducting. Here TCS will reflect in electronic cash ledger of actual supplier. Friends, getting clarity, everybody? Now one special point I'll tell you. Listen carefully, my dear friends. Listen, this Amazon, they will file one return known as GSTR-H, which stands for Return for E-Commerce Operator. And we all know the fact that PQR Limited will file one return called GSTR-1. What is that? Statement of Outward Supplies. Already I told that to you last example in TDS. Now this GSTR-1, this GSTR-8, they will definitely try to match, so as to make sure that calculation is done perfectly, numbers are perfect, everything is perfect. So getting clarity, my dear friends. Now one point, let me repeat one more time here, my dear friends. The story of TCS is applicable only to e-commerce operator. This is not applicable to everybody like that. See, in income tax, there are so many cases like sale of scrap, sale of motor vehicle, parking lot, toll plaza, like that. So many cases are there where TCS is applicable. But under GST law, TCS is applicable only for e-commerce operator. And that too only when e-commerce operator is collecting payment on behalf of supplier. That means what? Let me repeat one more time. If Shivateja is directly making payment to PQR Limited, then the provisions of TCS will not apply at all. Are you understanding, friends? I repeat one more time. Provisions of TCS will apply only when payment is made by Shivateja to Amazon. In other words, I will tell now. Provisions of TCS will apply only when payment is collected by e-commerce operator on behalf of supplier. If payment is directly taken by PQR Limited, the provisions of TCS will not apply. So, getting clarity? Friends, to give you more clarity on this, let me show you something interesting actually. Let me explain that so that you'll get full clarity, guys. First of all, see, can you please concentrate? Come on, don't sit like that. Please focus. Sir, I opened a form called GSTR1. You can see this one. I really want to explain one important concept to you in GSTR1. Now, what is that important concept I want to tell you? Please listen, my dear friends. Please concentrate. Come on. Please focus. Listen, this is which form? GSTR1. As I told you very clearly, GSTR1 is what? Statement of outward supplies. GSTN, legal name, trade name, aggregate, turnover and all. All this return form, fully in detail I will talk when I go to returns chapter. When I repeat one more time, when I go to returns chapter, I will talk with you in detail about this form. But the reason I opened this form, I'll tell you. If you see here, I really want to look at this. Taxable outward supplies made to what persons? Registered persons. Here you can see supplies other than those attracting reverse charge, other than supplies made through e-commerce operator. Here separately we will show supplies made through e-commerce operator. I repeat one more time, see that language. Supplies made through e-commerce operator attracting TCS, operator wise, Amazon, Flipkart separately and all, rate wise. That way we'll display the details. Same thing we'll do even in case of B2C also, my dear friends. Even in case of B2C, definitely we'll show that details. You can see here, come on. Please see here. Supplies made to what person? Unregistered person. Taxable supplies to unregistered person. Here also you can see there's a word called out of supplies mentioned in A above. 7A above, value of supplies made through e-commerce operator attracting TCS. Now, why I'm showing you this is only to explain you that practically government will try to match GSTR1 and GSTR8. They match. It's possible. Because whenever we file GSTR1, whatever supplies are made through e-commerce operator, we always report them separately so that they'll match with GSTR8 and confirm that figures are perfect. Please understand that very clearly. Getting clarity, everybody? This return form GSTR1 fully in detail I will talk separately when I go to the chapter called returns. But I wanted to show you that we will report so that you will get full clarity there. Let me proceed further. When I proceed further, here you can see there is a form called GSTR8, statement for TCS. Come on, see now. GSTIN, legal name, trade name, details of supplies made through what? E-commerce operator. Details of supplies made through e-commerce operator. And here I really want you to look at this. GSTIN of supplier. GSTIN of what, my difference? Supplier. That means whoever is a supplier, what is this GSTIN? We'll declare here. So that there we have shown to e-commerce operator what we supplied. And in GSTR8 we are showing who is the actual supplier. Now GSTR1, GSTR8 both will be matched. I hope you got the logic here, how they will match, my dear friends. And you can see here, gross value of supplies made, value of supplies returned, because a lot of times it so happens that returns also will come. Because online, a lot of times we buy, if we don't like it, we'll return also. Net amount liable for what? TCS. And what is the rate of TCS, my dear friends? 0.5 plus 0.5 or 1%. Next, amendments. Already I told you, once we file the return, we can't change it. So if any change you want to do, we'll go for amendment only. Then, details of interest. We did not pay on time, please pay late fees. Tax payable and paid, interest payable and paid, refund claimed, verification. This story we already know. Place and date, name of signatory, signature, designation and status. That's it. I want to look at this one. Come on. GST identification number, tax at source. See the second point. Come on, look at that. An e-commerce operator can file GSTR8 only when full TCS liability has been discharged. TCS liability will be calculated on the basis of table 3 and table 4. Table 3 is this month. Table 4 is for amendments. Refund from cash ledger can only be claimed only when all the TCS liability has been discharged. What is cash ledger, credit ledger? We'll talk in detail very soon, my dear friends. Speak out. Are we getting clarity? Last point you need, very important point. Matching of details will supplier GSTR1 will be at the level of GSTN of supplier. So definitely they'll match GSTR1 and GSTR8. I strongly believe that we are getting full clarity. Come on, change this diagram. Don't sit like that. Come on. Are we clear with this, my dear friends? So when PQR Limited is supplying goods through Amazon, Amazon is a registered person, PQR also registered person. Amazon will file GSTR 8, PQR Limited will file GSTR 1, and the GSTR 1, GSTR 8 both will be matched. And when Shivateja made payment of 10,000 to Amazon, Amazon will not pay 10,000 to PQR. They'll reduce that TCS and pay. The concept is same like TDS, but it is not called TDS because it's called TCS for the reason being that it is being done by somebody who is acting as a collecting agency, nothing but e-commerce operator. And whatever TCS they do, they'll pay to the government by 10th of next month. They'll file a return called GSTR 8. Actual supplier will file GSTR 1, and that 1 and 8 will be matched. And whatever TCS Amazon will do and pay to the government, that will reflect an electronic cash ledger of supplier. In my example, PQR Limited. And what is the rate of TCS? 0.5 plus 0.5 or 1%. And an important point to be kept in mind very clearly is that TDS provisions will apply only when contract value is more than 2.5 lakhs. But in TCS, there is nothing like that. TCS will always apply, even though it is 1 rupee also, TCS will apply. And I clearly told you that in provisions of registration section 24, for every e-commerce operator liable to do TCS, registration is mandatory. And e-commerce operator is liable to do TCS only when they collect consideration on behalf of supplier. That's why I clearly told you that if PQR Limited is directly taking money from Shivateja, then the provisions of TCS will not apply. Provisions of TCS will apply only when payment is made through e-commerce operator. Let me give a practical example for that. Sir, we all know one website called OLX. OLX, we know, sir. We display the products and we'll sell. For example, I put up my phone on OLX. You saw that phone, you liked that phone, you called me, we both met somewhere, I sold the phone to you, you made a payment to me. Is OLX participating in the payment process? Answer is no. So the provisions of TCS will not apply. And for OLX, registration is not mandatory. OLX is e-commerce operator, but registration is not mandatory. Because registration is mandatory under section 24 only for e-commerce operator liable to do TCS. Anyways, we have section 22 which talks about persons liable for registration. But I'm talking about 24 point of view. From 24 compulsory registration point of view, I repeat one more time, from 24 compulsory registration point of view, registration is mandatory only for that e-commerce operator liable to do TCS. If e-commerce operator is not liable to do TCS, then registration is not required. Very beautiful points. Are we clear, sir? Fantastic. Come on. So I'm sure we are clear with this concept, my dear friends. Have you finished writing? Come on, please reply. Good. So my dear friends, compared to TDS, this is a very simple and easy concept, but we have got some points to write. So let's write the points and become perfect, my dear friends. Clear? Come on. So I'll ask you one question. Think properly and tell me, sir. Sir, if there is somebody called PQR Limited, okay, as a last example what I gave, same PQR Limited only. They have got their own website, and through that website they are supplying. Through that website they are making supplies. Come on, will TCS apply, my dear friends? 101% answer is no. The question of TCS will come only when we are supplying through some other e-commerce operator, and that e-commerce operator is collecting consideration on our behalf. Only then TCS will come. Please understand that point very clearly. Clear? Chalo. So let's start. Which section we're talking? Section 52. The concept of what, my dear friends? TCS. Clear? Madam, come on, let's start. Come on, right, first point. Every e-commerce operator not being an agent, should collect tax at source. that is TCS. Every e-commerce operator not being an agent should collect tax at source from net value of taxable supplies. From net value of what, my dear friends? Taxable supplies made through it by other suppliers. Made through it by what, my dear friends? Other suppliers. When ECO collects, ECO what, my dear friends? Collects consideration on behalf of supplier. Some words are very important words in this line what I wrote here. Come on, let me underline that words. Every ECO not being an agent should collect tax at source. From what value, sir? Net value of taxable supplies. It is very important to know what is net value of taxable supplies. Let me explain that to you. What is net value of taxable supplies? Come on, my dear friends. Let me write that word here. What is net value of taxable supplies? Net value of taxable supplies is equal to, listen, net value of taxable supplies is equal to aggregate value of, what value? Aggregate value of taxable supplies. Aggregate value of taxable supplies other than section 9(5). Other than which section, my dear friends? 9(5). By all registered persons. By all registered persons through operator. Through operator minus taxable supplies returned to suppliers. Friends, very interesting language. Let's elaborate this word once again, word by word. We'll read, my dear friends. Come on, let's get back. Come on. So what is that word, my dear friends? Every e-commerce operator not being an agent should collect tax at source from what value? Net value of taxable supplies. Should collect tax at source from net value of taxable supplies. Now what is the interesting word? What is this word called? Net value of taxable supplies. Let me explain that to you, my dear friends. What is net value of taxable supplies? Net value of taxable supplies means nothing but net value of taxable supplies means nothing but aggregate value of taxable supplies. Aggregate value of taxable supplies other than 9(5). If you remember 9(5), I taught you 3 important cases. 1, transportation of passenger. 2nd, service of hotel accommodation. 3rd, housekeeping service. Why we are telling other than 9(5)? Because in case of 9(5), who is liable to pay GST is only e-commerce operator. When e-commerce operator is only liable to pay TCS, when e-commerce operator is only liable to pay tax, why TCS would apply? I repeat one more time, friends. In 9(5), there are 3 things notified so far. 1, services of what, sir? Transportation of passenger by way of radio, taxi, motor cab, maxi cab, motorcycle. 2nd, service of hotel accommodation. 3rd, housekeeping services. In these 3 cases, who is liable to pay tax is only e-commerce operator. When e-commerce operator is only liable to pay tax, then by TCS will come. Getting clarity? Come on. What is net value of taxable supplies? Aggregate value of taxable supplies other than section 9(5). By what, my dear friends? So basically, other than aggregate value of taxable supplies, I'll add one word here. Aggregate value of taxable supplies during any month. During any month other than 9(5) by all registered persons through operator minus taxable supplies. What, my dear friends? Return to the suppliers during the month. So basically, net effect in common sense word, sales minus sales returns. That is what we are trying to tell here. Correct? No, but you should not write that word sales minus sales return in exam. 0 marks will come. 0, big 0 will come. Hello, write properly. Come on. So what is the language, sir? Aggregate value of taxable supplies. Aggregate value of taxable supplies during any month other than 9(5). Why other than 9(5)? Because in 9(5) cases, ECO is only liable to pay. When ECO is liable to pay GST, then by TCS will come. By all registered persons through the operator minus taxable supplies returned to the supplier. Clear, my dear friends? All of us? Wonderful. Sure. Now let's get back. See the first point. Every e-commerce operator not being an agent should collect tax at source from net value of taxable supplies made through it by whom, sir? By other suppliers. That means somebody is supplying. Who is supplying? Some other person is supplying, not his own website. His own website means TCS only will not come. When ECO collects consideration on behalf of supplier, only then TCS will come. As I very clearly told you, if supplier directly takes the payment, if supplier directly takes the payment, then the provisions of TCS will not apply. The provisions of TCS will apply only and only in case where the payment is being taken by e-commerce operator and then e-commerce operator is given to the actual supplier. Only then TCS will come. Getting clarity, friends? Very, very important language. Are we clear? Can I proceed? Wonderful. Sure. Next point. Next point, come on. Rate of TCS is what percent, sir? 0.5% plus 0.5%. Or directly it will be 1% in case of IGST. And in TDS, we have got special point called TDS will apply only when contract value is more than 2.5 lakhs. Here 2.5 lakhs story is not there only. And in TDS, I told one special point called if the location of supplier, place of supply, both are in one state and location of recipient is in another state, then the provisions of TDS will not apply. Like that, special points are not there in TCS. So getting clarity, everybody? Speak out. All of us, very, very interesting point. Next point, listen. TCS collected by ECO to be paid to government by which date, friends? 10th of next month. That means which related to May month, they should deposit by 10th of June. With June month, then deposit by 10th of July. Getting clarity? Speak out. Are we clear, my dear friends? Next point. One very, very interesting point I'll tell you. If a person supplies through his own website, if a person supplies, what, my dear friends, through his own website, then he is ECO. Then he is what, my dear friends? ECO. That means he is e-commerce operator. But TCS shall not apply. This point I clearly explained to you some time back. Very clearly I told this point called TCS story will come only when supplies are made through some other persons, through e-commerce operator. Getting clarity, my dear friends? All of us? Speak out. So if we are supplying through our own website, then the question of TCS will not apply, my dear friends. Are we clear, everybody? All of us? Wonderful. And finally, guys, just last 2-3 points to tell you and will write also. With that, the story will actually get over. Small section. That's why I clearly told you this point that TDS is too big. TDS is too big, which has got too much of concept, but TCS comparatively simple. So far in exam 2-3 times, TDS came in exam for 6 marks. TCS came for 2 marks. So friends, not a small topic. You need to realize that there is too much of concept involved in this. That's the reason why I'm so much concerned. I'm trying to tell you every point in detail. Please, come on. Next. ECO shall file monthly return in GSTR, what, my dear friends? 8 by 10th of next month. ECO shall file what, my dear friends? Monthly return in GSTR, what, my dear friends? 8. I clearly explained that to you and I've shown that form also to you. GSTR 8 by which date, my dear friends? 10th of next month. And moreover, my dear friends, apart from that, one more interesting point is ECO shall also file annual statement. ECO shall file what, my dear friends? Annual statement. Friends, this is not annual return. Annual return is different. This is annual statement. Annual statement is different. Getting clarity, friends? They'll file annual statement in one form called GSTR 9B on or before 31st December, on or before 31st December following the end of financial year. On or before 31st December following the end of financial year. Getting clarity, friends? Everybody, sir? That's all. These all points will come back to us in chapter called returns also, my dear friends. Are we clear? Did you write these points? Come on, please write down. Whenever I'm writing, you also write. Don't relax, my dear friends, please. Are we clear? Sure. Finally, last 1-2 points for which I'll put side heading as other points and I'll write down. Number 1, any officer not below the rank of DC. DC means Deputy Commissioner. Any officer not below the rank of Deputy Commissioner can issue notice to ECO and seek details. Now, what details you will ask? Let me tell you. The details could be in terms of supplies made, details could be in terms of stock lying in the godown or stock lying in the warehouse. Possible, no, my dear friends? Speak out, because let me tell you very clearly, Amazon has got some big warehouse. They have got one big warehouse in Bangalore. They have got one very big warehouse in Hyderabad also, where they store the goods belonging to some other suppliers. That is where practically what suppliers will do is, supplier will declare the godown of Amazon as additional place of business. Remember I told you in GST registration chapter that every godown will become your, every godown or warehouse will become your additional place of business. And stop. ECO should reply. ECO should reply within 15 working days. Within 15 working days, ECO should definitely reply, my dear friends. If ECO fails to reply, then penalty up to 25,000 is levied. They did not tell penalty of 25,000. The word used is penalty up to 25,000. So if they fail to furnish information and all, what will happen is they'll definitely liable to penalty up to what, my dear friends? 25,000. Not really a great concept actually. So getting clarity, everybody? So speak out, something important, interesting, but not a big concept compared to TDS. TDS took so much of time, but this will not take much time for us. Are we clear? Speak out. So what are the other points we discussed? 1, any officer not below rank of Deputy Commissioner can issue notice to ECO and seek what's the details, what details they might seek. Just to add on, I'll write that word here. He may seek details related to what? Supplies or details of stock, etc. Getting clarity, everybody? All of us. And that ECO should reply with how many days? 15 days, 15 working days, he should reply, my dear friends. And if he doesn't reply, then definitely is liable to pay penalty up to how much, my dear friends? 25,000 rupees. In fact, we have got one separate chapter called Penalties, Offences, Prosecution. That we'll talk in detail separately. Clear, my dear friends? That's it, my dear friends. In fact, that's the end of story for section 52 also. A very small section compared to 51. But still, there is some good concept in this also. Chalo friends, I'll ask you 1-2 points, quickly reply. Come on. Do we have any threshold limit in TCS? Come on, don't tell 2.5 lakhs. Stop your answer. It's not 2.5 lakhs. 100% GST will apply. I mean, TCS will apply. There is no threshold limit. Threshold limit is there only in TDS. In TDS, provisions of TDS will apply only when contract value is more than 2.5 lakhs. And what is contract value? Value of supply excluding tax. And in TDS, we have got one special point called that TDS provision will not apply if the location of supplier and place of supply are in one state and location of recipient is in another state. And for the person liable to do TDS, for him registration is mandatory. And whatever TDS he does, he'll deposit to the government by 10th of next month. And whatever TDS they deposit will reflect in the electronic cash ledger of whom, my dear friends? The supplier. And they'll issue TDS certificate within 5 days of depositing. And if they don't give that, my dear friends, they are liable to penalty of late fees of 1,100 per day, subject to maximum 5,000, my dear friends. Are we getting clarity, everybody? We discussed the points very clearly. TCS, what is the rate? 0.5 plus 0.5 or directly what, my dear friends? 1%. And TCS we will charge on net value of taxable supplies. And net value of taxable supply is nothing but aggregate value of taxable supplies. Aggregate value of taxable supplies other than 95 cases by all registered persons minus taxable supplies returned to supplier. So our net figure we will charge TCS, and that TCS to be paid to the government by 10th of next month. And they'll file a return called GSTR 8, and that GSTR 8 and the GSTR 1 both will definitely be matched. That's it, my dear friends. That's the end of story for the concept of TCS. So friends, today what we have completed is a very, very interesting, important topic called TDS and TCS, dealt by section 51 and 52. 51 deals with the concept of TDS, 52 deals with the concept of TCS. Very, very, very interesting, important concept. I'm very sure and I'm very clear that you guys have got utmost clarity on this concept. Any doubts? I'm always there at any cost. Don't worry. I'm always there for your support. Are you clear, my dear friends? So I'll take a leave then. I'll sign off. We'll stop here for today. Tomorrow I'll come back with you a new interesting topic and a wonderful topic, my dear friends. Thank you so much. Take care. Good night. Bye-bye. Thank you.